So without further ado, I would like to turn to Mr. Waghmar for his topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Swan. My gratitude to your panel for inviting me today, and particularly to Melissa for putting it all through. My title ought to read, with a slight modification, Yet Another Stan, Talibanisation and Islamic Radicalism in Balochistan in Southwest Asia. And with a disclaimer that the views expressed herein remain my sole prerogative. They neither imply nor insinuate the views or thinking of the university or any affiliated research or regional centres of study. The noted Pakistani journalist Najm Sethi, in a televised Urdu interview, attempted to reason with Hiyar Murray, the London domiciled scion of the Bhakti tribe, that there are both poor and rich Punjabis, to the allegation posed by the former as to why are Punjabis not just squatting and siphoning off the resources of his province, Pakistan's largest geographically and sparsest demographically, but primarily, quote, finishing off his national identity. Paradigmatic then, to trace a trajectory to the Punjabi hegemon as the locus of long-standing grievances. But both Sethi and Miari, two Pakistani Sunni Muslims, were, insofar as an Orientalist as myself am concerned, engaged in a dialogue of the deaf. But it was symptomatic of center-state disputes predicated on irredentism, sovereignty, and regional aspirations that were and remain a canker across the subcontinent, Kashmir, Bangladesh, Balochistan, Khalistan, Elam, and near abroad, Uyghuristan, Iranian Balochistan, Iranian Khuzestan or Arabistan, and of course Iranian Kurdistan. The historical ambivalence of Baloch tribal elites who expediently, but not enthusiastically, joined the new dominion is reflected in the blur between ethnic and confessional belonging demonstrated by the Baloch as was by those in East Bengal which seceded in 1971. It is, it may be pointed out, also evident in the homonymous province of the Islamic Republic of Iran's Sistan of Balochistan, and where a restive Sunni minority exists that has felt the harsh hand of a 12er Shia Ithna Ashariya majority, which suppresses all minorities deemed an existential threat to the revolution and the living nightmare of an Islamic Republic spawned by it. The confrontation lines are clear, even cursorily to a chance observer, what with other sectarian atavistic struggles now being played out across other Muslim lands such as Bahrain, Iraq and Syria. Present-day Pakistan's Balochistan, like former East Pakistan, is principally Sunni Hanafi, with a conspicuous 12er Shia Hazara community inhabiting the environs of Quetta. The establishment therefore bats on a very sticky wicket, for it is unable to tackle homegrown, non-Baloch Sunni terrorists intent on inflaming an already impoverished, alienated citizenry, and is flat-footed in its attempts at tackling Baloch Sunni dissidents, an ethno-linguistic minority, espousing a nationalist line who, ironically, take a cue from the Quaid-e-Azam, whose campaign of a salvation homeland for Muslims was postulated on the premise that they constituted a nation, not a minority. Indira Gandhi's response at the end of 1971, when queried about her views on the two-nation theory, stated that it lay in the Bay of Bengal. A champagne socialist Sindhi, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, and the Shah of Pahli Iran put paid to any such ambitions harbored by Baloches attempting to do a Bengal, quote-unquote, some 40 years ago. Fast forward to the present 9/11 era, for I have only now a few minutes left before the next speaker. It is a truism, which perhaps might be rehearsed here, that no drone attacks are conducted across Balochistan or its provincial capital, where not a few of the Taliban leadership are comfortably ensconced in Quetta. And Quetta, so popular perception has it, is rife with ISI agents. And this is not unsurprising. Shuja Nawaz, brother of former Army Chief of Staff General Asif Nawaz, narrates in his authoritative account, Crossed Swords, Pakistan's Army and the War Within, Oxford University Press, 2008, that most ISI officers were hardly to be seen in Islamabad at their desks at Al-Para headquarters, but away at prayers or barnstorming across Central Asia to fund Islamists, establish safe houses, or embark on causes for the glory of Islam. In the pre-Abbottabad period, and even before our Prime Minister Cameron declared that, quote, Pakistan is looking both ways on his first trip to India, LSE's Matthew Waldman highlighted it in his telling report based on interviews with 10 Taliban commanders. And all of them matter-of-factly remarked about the presence of ISI, quote, participants or observers on the Quetta Shura Council. No wonder nobody's at the Islamabad headquarters of the ISI office. And this is the more natural, as General Kayani exclaimed, that he was the first to be obsessed with India. Literally first, for the Pakistan Joint Chief of Staff is the first citizen of Pakistan, regardless of presidential or prime ministerial style musical chair sequencing, since that former British possession became a republic in 1956. Herein lies the nub. The ISI, not a whit wiser, despite Abbottabad, PNS Mehran, and many more audacious outrages seen, and still, make no mistake, in the offing, continues to throw no caution to a wind which leads them towards reaping a blowback. This neurotic, self-destructive Indian fixation with, quote, strategic depth is worth paying any price, including the internal coherence and security of the armed forces, not to mention, existentially, Pakistan's survival. Balochistan, therefore, is one among Pakistan's badlands alongside the tribal areas. What complicates and concomitantly modifies the Baloch scenario unfolding before us is where Indian and Iranian proxies jostle for manipulating this mineral-rich hinterland and strategically located littoral for their ends. The collective Sino-Pakistani impress only mars the canvas further. Beijing, the new colonial trader of much of what is now the third and fourth world, is not squeamish about any such dealing with Islamabad, so long as its own Uyghur Sunni dissidents hailing from Xinjiang receive neither spiritual nor strategic support from ISI subvented camps dotted across Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or the Punjab. Pakistan cannot afford to lose friends or allies. The Chinese, Uzbeks and Iranians have sternly told Islamabad to cease aiding and abetting their own troublemakers, whether Salafist or jihadist, both of whom, through the ISI's outreach, find a homestead in Pakistan. To return to the first part of my paper's title, Yet Another Stan? Is the international community keen on welcoming another Stan in the Comity of Nations? Balochistan's neighbors, both Muslim and non-Muslim, certainly do not, at least in the present context, welcome it. The former have no intention of welcoming yet another brother Muslim entrant into the OIC, Organisation of Islamic Conference, and the latter are not keen on seeing a nuclear Pakistan balkanized. And that includes not just China, but also India officially, and its Hindu hawks. Kashmir, for instance, is not going anywhere. Certainly not to the OIC or the General Assembly, for no present or future Indian administration, let me stress, will compromise on a province through which the headwaters and lifeline of northern India partly, but Pakistan entirely flow. So, is a client scenario of an independent Balochistan for Western interests on the cards? As Sohrab Gushi, Dorel Gushi, Hazavasar Kichen Gondatha. Wonderful head, what idea has overtaken you now? As so goes the balladeer in the Rind Dore Jang of 16th century Balochi ballads. Comes obviously to mind. Just how or what will the Baloch offer as a sustainable and reliable Makrani pivot for southwest Afghanistan, not to mention southwest Asia, is a task for the clairvoyant, not the scholar, and certainly not the historian which I am. It remains to be seen if Baloch dissidents, fractious, reactionary, warring tribals, a microcosm of so much else across the Islamic world, can deliver. But, ladies and gentlemen, first things first, Kayani needs to deliver Haqqani. Thank you.